Hello everyone watching at home, you're with Sav McClinton from Adelaide Eternal, bringing you another 7-minute 7-point series deck tech. This time I'm bringing you my deck, which I call Recycle, after the namesake card Recycle over here. Now, this is a combo deck. It's the kind of combo deck that you could play if, let's say, you don't have Black Lotus for Storm, and you wanted to essentially storm off. I say essentially because your win con is Tendrils of Agony or it's Aetherflux Reservoir. Now, you could choose either of the two. Both of them are entirely playable. You just cast Tendrils at the end, as opposed to Aetherflux Reservoir, which you can cast, partway through your combo. It also has some advantages in that you can actually pass the turn to your aggro opponent and not actually die to them attacking you. Now, let's look at how the deck works. First of all, we've got our mana base here. If you'd like to play a deck that plays only 8 lands, well technically 7 because let's exclude Dryad Arbor, then this is the kind of deck for you. You're never going to get land flooded in this deck ever. Now, that's because you have a variety of other more turbo mana sources here. So Gaea's Cradle is the best mana source in the deck, obviously, because we actually hinge on our mana dorks here to storm off. Now, Crop Rotation finds you Gaea's Cradle, and then you also have parallels to Gaea's Cradle in Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, which taps for an exorbitant number of green mana. Hickory Woodlot and Saprazzan Skerry are also ways to get you off from, turn 2 and going forward from there. And then these are other ways to allow you to actually, start going off in the early turns. Mana Crypt taps for an exorbitant amount of mana when you need the colourless for any of your payoff spells, even though it doesn't actually allow you to cast mana dorks. The other coloured mana sources will allow you to get a mana dork out early, and once you get a mana dork out or two, then the following turn you'll usually be starting your combo turn. Now, these are your big mana spells. I've separated these all out into categories. Whilst these tap and generate you 2 or more mana, these allow you to untap those sources and generate even more than that. Candelabra and Magus of the Candelabra generate exorbitant amounts of mana with Gaea's Cradle and Nykthos, and Fastbond allows you to play these lands and is very important when you need to play multiple lands in the turn when you're going off on your combo turn. Paradox Engine is absolutely insane, and usually when you can play this, you'll never have mana problems for the rest of the game, and that game will be essentially this one turn in which you're going to win anyway. Concordant Crossroads is also very important when you're going off because it gives mana dorks haste and essentially allows them to cycle through by using 1 mana for themselves, and then they tap for 1 mana and so on and so forth. So these are very important when you're going off, but these are the things that allow you to go off. We've got a whole bunch of mana dorks which are relatively self-explanatory, and Green Sun Zenith finds you another mana dork, so it's essentially a glorified 2 mana dork, but oftentimes it allows you to find key cards like Wirewood Symbiote and Nettle Sentinel and Elvish Visionary when you need to do very traditional Legacy Elves combos with these. Springleaf Drum obviously allows these to tap for mana straight away, and these are, mainstays of the format as well for elf decks. But then you might have the worse elf cards. You have Birchlore Rangers, which is, whilst it seems worse, is actually amazing in the deck because it allows you to tap 2 dorks to create blue, which allows you to get your payoff spells. Wild Cantor is also quite essential on those going off turns where you need that 3rd blue mana source. This is your card selection. Now, you have basically 4 draw spells here, which just allow you to, cantrip on critical turns. You use them to set up, or you use them to find your payoff spell, but you very rarely want more. You don't want Serum Visions and Impulse and the like. So if you don't want to be cantripping, then this is the kind of deck for you. It's really just there for a little bit of help. And Manamorphose does the best of both worlds. Now, these are your payoff spells. These payoff spells are very non-traditional. What you would expect with a mana dork deck is to see, Beck and Call and Glimpse of Nature. But in reality, we don't really want to be casting a Beck and then casting our mana dorks, especially when we only have something like 18 creatures or 19 creatures in the deck. Instead, what you want to do is you want to play the mana dorks, then tap them to play the payoff spell as opposed to the other way around. So Frantic Search obviously untaps Gaea's Cradle. Time Twister and Wheel of Fortune are very self-explanatory. Usually once you resolve one of these, you're just going to continue to go off and win the game. But the key spells in the deck are the Future Sight variants. When you play these, unlike, say, Experimental Frenzy, which is in standard at the moment, which is usually, 4 mana, draw, pseudo, 4 or 5 cards, then pay 4 mana and destroy it, because you get really, really clunky situations where you have to use your payoff spell in your hand. These are 5 mana, draw your entire deck. You very rarely ever stumble, unlike Experimental Frenzy here. Time Spiral is amazing, obviously untapping your lands as well. Mind's Desire also usually leads to deterministic wins, but these are the keys of the deck: Recycle and Null Profusion. What I would encourage you to do is Goldfish this deck, play a Recycle, and then realize its power. It was played back in, Urza's Saga, those kind of times, and it was very powerful then, but it's been largely forgotten. And these two, versions of the Recycle effect are absolutely amazing. Again, between these and Future Sight, any one of these spells will simply allow you to draw your entire deck and go off. Then you basically play a Aetherflux Reservoir some way through this combo turn, and then you just deal, 50 damage to your opponent and win. So let's have a look at the sideboard. Sideboard, you have an anti-control package. Control is obviously your nemesis, and what you want to do is make sure that you can actually go off. So you often play a slower game against control, using your dits on the early turns, then starting to play your mana dorks, because remember, you're a combo deck, but you are actually vulnerable to creature destruction. There is an upside to that, which is your opponent doesn't actually know how to sideboard against you, because there's no cards that are just simple, well, you don't play creatures, so I take creatures out and I bring in my Storm Hate. In reality, they actually need all of their hate. They need their creature hate, they need counter spells, and they need, sometimes hand disruption, and they are going to find that they also want to bring in their Storm Hate too. So they're probably going to become a deck that's very hateful against you, so play the slow game with these. Also, you can just use these on the turns that you go off, like Autumn's Veil and Pact of Negation, and Defense Grid is a nice preemptive way to stop that happening. These are against, key cards, Aethersworn Canonist and the like, bounce those things. But here's your alternate game plan. What you do is you bring in these 4 great mid-range threats, and you simply take out some of your combo-rific type of cards, and you play more of a mid-range game. If you're interested in that style, you can also change your Green Sun Zenith into natural order for the big stompy Craterhoof, but I find that having a streamlined main deck is really where you want to be. So if you want to have a go, sleeve it up, check it out, and I guarantee you're going to have a whole lot of fun with Recycle. Thanks for watching.